Good evening, everyone. So, yesterday we learnt about parameters, how to use in stored processor. Yep. So, we discussed about how to use stored processor and parameters. While working with stored processors, how to define the parameters. What are the parameters we have? In out and in out parameter. In parameters take a value and use the same value across all the statements. Out parameter will not take any value. They will have a value and use the value, change the value according to the situation. They will render different values. Next, after understanding this, some more queries examples I will give you. But another point now is after understanding procedure and parameters, we need variables. Variables, how to handle in MySQL queries, we should know. Variables, how to handle them. So, what is the purpose of a parameter? We already learned. Parameter purpose is, the purpose of parameter is to modify the procedure. Generally, procedures perform the same functionality. If you want to modify the functionality, we can do that by using parameter. Now, actually, variables, what is the purpose of variable? Generally, in computer programming everywhere, their concept is same. Because already if you started learning JavaScript and all, you already know the purpose of variables. What is the purpose of variable? Storage. Variables are storage locations in memory. You can store a value and use it as a part of any expression. So technically, one value you want to use everywhere inside any procedure, then we can use variables. So technically variables are storage locations in memory. Where you can store a value and use as a part of any expression. Variables are storage locations in memory where you can store a value and use as a part of any expression. So you can store any value and reuse it anywhere you want. So variables are declared by using declare keyword. So in MySQL, variables are declared by using declare keyword. So variable requires a name and a data type to define. variable requires a name and data type to define. Whenever you declare any variable, variable requires one name and you have to tell what type of data to store inside the variable. So syntactically, declare variable name, data type, you can define like this. Variable name and data type. So what type of data you want to handle? Just like suppose we have declared some product name varchar some 30 like this. Declare price integer or say decimal some 82 like this. You have to define the data type. Variable is configured using declare keyword. So declare variable name and its data type. All MySQL types we can use here. If you want, you can initialize a value also. Assignment and initialization. Already in programming you learned. Actually variable contains two important concepts. So every variable configuration actually contains three things. Usually when you are working with variables in any language, variable have a declaration, assignment and initialization. Three options will be there. Declaration, assignment and initialization. Declaration is nothing but declaration will define the variable name and its data type. So this is actually declaration. Declaration contains variable name and data type. Assignment indicates that after declaring, later you can store any value into variable. That is called as assignment. That means we declared variable. After declaring variable, somewhere we want to access it and store some data in it. Then usually here we have to use set. Set variable name and is equal to some value into it. We have to define this. This is called assignment. We call it as assignment. So you first declare the variable. After that, later whenever you want, you can send value into variable. Sometimes while declaring itself, we will set some value. That means we are declaring a variable. So we are declaring some variable. Declare variable name and data type. And here we use default and some value. We use a default keyword to set some default value into the variable. Now, while declaring itself, if you mention any value, this is called initialization. That is called initialization. So, declaration, assignment, and initialization. Many times people have a wrong definition. People many times call this as initialization. That means you declared variable. Later when you are sending any value, it is not initializing value. Many times people call that. They say that I am initializing value into it. You are not initializing value. You are what? Assigning value. Initialization means at the time of declaring itself, you send some value. That is called as initialization. So variable have declaration, assignment, initialization. So here in MySQL also same. We declared a variable. Later, if you want, you can assign any value. Or while declaring itself, you can initialize a value. For initialization, you have to use which keyword? Default. Default is the keyword that is used for initializing any default value into a variable, right? So variable configuration comprises of three phases: declaring, assignment, initialization. Declaring, assignment, initialization. Declaring is the process of configuring variable name and data type. That already we done. Declare price decimal. This is declaring. You can assign value into variable after declaring by using set keyword. That means set price is equal to some price. You can assign value into variable after declaring by using set keyword. Initialization is the process of defining a value into variable while declaring variable. Initialization is the process of defining a value into variable while declaring variable. While declaring itself, if you are sending some data, then it is called initialization. So you can initialize value by using default keyword. You can initialize value by using default keyword. You can initialize value by using default keyword. So declare price, so decimal, and default some 0.00. Like this, you can define any value into it. You can set any default value into that. Right. Any value default you can set. Just here I am using some 0. We can keep some default value. So that is declaring. Now we have another important point is wherever in programming languages we learn, scope of variable is important. You learned generally when you learn about variables, usually in JavaScript you will learn function scope, block scope, global scope, variables we learn. So when you are working with variables, so scope is also important. In a stored procedure, two scopes are available. One is procedure scope, another one is global scope. Outside begin and end, if you write, then it becomes global. Inside begin and end you return, then it becomes block. It becomes block scope. We can write variables outside and we can access and use them inside. Global means you can use across various locations outside also. Outside means in different procedures also we can use. So usually when you are dealing with variables, scope plays the key role. Because of this scope, access restrictions will be there. You cannot access outside the scope. You have to access only inside the scope. So here variable scope restricts the accessibility of variable. Variable scope restricts the accessibility of variable. If any variable is declared outside procedure, then it is global. If variable is declared inside procedure, then it is block scope. If variable is declared inside procedure, then it is block scope. Variable inside and outside. So for example, let's see. So in this, we are configuring some variables. Right. So I am declaring some variable. We have to use declare variable name, suppose count, integer, and default is 0. That's how we are configuring some variable. We are defining the variable. So variable is defined by using this declare. And you see here, declare is not valid at this position. It is expected end of file, alter, analyze, begin, cache. That means these are defined. These are required to configure. So it is not allowed here. So we will create one procedure. So we know procedure requires a delimiter. Okay. So delimiter is dollar and delimiter end. Okay. Now we are having create procedure and the procedure name. Procedure name some SP, some get. Already we have so many procedures. Okay, get rating something. Get rating is the procedure name. And it is expecting some out parameter, suppose result, and it is an integer type. So we are having a out parameter result integer type. And we have begin and end. So this is the procedure we configured. So here we need to define variable. Actually, we are defining the variable by using declare. Variable name. Variable name is, suppose variable name is rate and it is an integer. Default is 0. That's how we define. Suppose I am defining this variable outside this procedure. You see it is having a problem. Now I defined inside this procedure area, here also problem. What is the point here? We need to configure here. Now what is global then? You said global means outside. That is followed when we configure in a separate file. Files is not a part of our concept, but I will just give one overview because it's a more larger concept. Usually what we do, we can write the files, in that we can put the queries, we can import the files, and we can execute them, just like batch programs. That's not our part. In our backend, we don't discuss that much files concept, but later I will, whenever time permits, I will take a simple point about it. I will just explain an overview about it. There we can configure multiple procedures, we can declare a global variable, and we can access anywhere. Here there is no place for global now because you are not using any file. You are just using simple query, right? Now in this, what happens is we declared a variable and we defined the variable name rate and it is having something. Now what we do, we write some query. So select average of rating, average rating from, so what, TBL products. Select average rating from TBL products. It will calculate the average rating. After that, what we will do is into, that means whatever result comes of that average rating, so store into rate, that is the variable name. This time you are not storing the result in a out parameter. You are not storing this result in out parameter. You are storing the result in a variable. If I store in a variable, then usually we can access anywhere, any number of times and use it. We will see in the next level, we will write statements we will use in different place also. As of now, the result of this is not stored in a out parameter. It is stored in this variable. Now, how to access this variable outside? Not possible. You cannot access this outside because it is accessible only in this area. From begin to end, it is a block scope. It is accessible only in that scope. Then if you cannot access this rate, how you will print? You can store the result of this into the out parameter. If you can store in out parameter allows to access outside. What is purpose of variables? Just to keep a value, use that value across the statements and dispose after the end. Those variables are not accessible outside the procedure. Inside the procedure, remember, as of now we are learning small queries, but in real world projects, queries will be lengthy. Even 100, 200, 1000 lines queries will be there. Means a stored procedure means 100, 200 lines queries also will be there. We are initially doing simple according to our data. Because in real world projects, some data are very complex. They need hundreds of lines of queries. Then everywhere they need a variable. Means they need one value everywhere. Then what we do? We store the values in variables and use them every location. But we can't access the variable outside. Then what to do? To access the value outside, what we can do is we can set, what is it? Result. We can set result is equal to whatever the rate is there, we can set the result. That means whatever rate you have captured, that you can store in the result. Result is an out parameter. Now the result can be stored at this level so that you can access outside that and use it. This variable that you declared inside, it is only inside. You cannot access it outside. If you want to access the result of that variable outside, that means variable is meant for declaring some value, using the value until the procedure ends. Anywhere in the inside, you write 100 thousands of lines. Wherever you want, you can reuse it. But you cannot access it outside. To access it outside, you need an out parameter. Into the out parameter, you store the result and you can access it. So here, what is the concept? Now we will execute the query. Query is defined. Then we will call the procedure. So how do we call the procedure? SP get rating. So call SP get rating. SP get rating. Out parameter is at the net. What is the out parameter? Result. At the net result is the out parameter. And what you do? We have to select what is the out parameter result. Select out parameter result. That means it is going to execute and select the out parameter, and average rating is 2. It will show average rating is 2. I just found rating. Average rating is how much we defined that. And it shows that result. So now general doubts are very common. Actually now, yesterday we done the same without variable. Directly we stored some value inside out parameter and we are using it. Now extra, why you are declaring variable, why you are storing result in that variable, and accessing and using it, because for smaller queries, out parameter is enough. But lengthy queries where we need to reuse our values again and again, their out parameters are not enough. We need some variable. You can declare multiple variables. You can configure multiple variables and you can use them. I declared only one variable. There can be multiple variables. So variables, how they will be helpful for us, I will show you. Some more concepts we will see. Here I am using simple variable, store the result, and again transfer the result into out parameter and use. Why? Because we cannot access the variable directly. Outside is not accessible. So we need to use an out parameter. So one concept is important here. The default query window, the default query window where you run queries will not allow to define a global variable. All variables must be in the scope of begin and end. You cannot access variable and variable outside the procedure. Hence, you need an out parameter to store the result. Hence, you need an out parameter to store the result. You need an out parameter to store the result. So this is an example for that syntactically how you define. This is a simple example. So create procedure out, result, now the result into the out parameter you can set the value of variable. So already we learned yesterday that into is used to store the value into any reference. Earlier we don't have a reference. So what we are doing, we are using out parameter. But now we have a reference. In that reference we can store the result. We can use it, but we cannot directly access. So we need an out parameter into that, assign the value and use it. So let's see one another example so that how we can reuse it, how to reuse these values. executing these are same. So how do we run this? Run the procedure using this. So inside the procedure, when you are defining procedure inside the procedure, inside the procedures, we can have statements. Already in a select query, we can use functions. I told you about if. If is not, if is not a statement, actually it is a function. You saw if as a function. If condition true, one value, false another value. You don't have any statement there. So in select, when you learnt, the if is not a statement there. If is a function. I given about MySQL functions. What are MySQL functions? Number functions, string functions, date functions, and some database related functions. If we learned, if is a function there, if is not a statement there. But now in procedure, you can have a if statement. You can have if statements. So there you used if only as function. Here we have if statement. What is if statement is, we can define if statement. How you configure the if statement. For example, you see, we want to create a procedure. That procedure should get the review about any product. Suppose I entered a product ID. It should get the review. Review like, is it good? Is it bad? Like review I want. And the review depends on rating. That means I want a procedure which will access the product individually by its ID. You enter product ID, it will get the product. After getting the product, we need to check its rating. If rating is above what we asked, then it should tell the review saying that this is good, otherwise average, otherwise poor. We want such ratings. Let's see how to write the conditions, how you write the condition. So I will create one procedure here. I am creating a procedure. This procedure is get review. The procedure is get review. In this procedure, it should take a product ID, get the product related rating, check is the rating above certain conditions or not. What are the conditions we are having? We are having 2, 3 ratings are there. I just use some 2, some watch, some price. So some price, quantity, okay. And this is electronics. Rating is 4, 1, TV, some price, and 1 electronics, and 5. Some ratings are there. I will apply this and I will add extra few more products I added into this. I'm adding few more products into this, right? Now, what we need is we need the ratings. So here I am writing a query, get the review based on ID. So we need a in parameter that is ID. ID is a in parameter. So we have in parameter, out parameters. And what is it? Integer. That is an in parameter. That means it will take ID. After taking ID, it should display the review. Review is like, is it good? Is it average? Is it poor? Some message. Then I will use another parameter, out parameter. That is what? Review. That is varchar some 20. So one in parameter, it will take ID and it will present the review of that particular product. You pass some product ID to, it will show the review of that particular product. So review, depending on rating, we are planning to write. Depending on rating, we are planning to write. So what we are doing here is we are having, so var means declare variable is suppose rate, integer, default is 0. Default is not compulsory, you can ignore that. Now what I have to do, I have to select the rating based on ID. How do we select the rating of any product? Select rating, So, and here into, I am using rate from TBL products where product ID is matching with the ID you enter. Understood? That means what we are doing, we are collecting the rating. Rating is a field name. From the field name, a value will come. We are storing the value in a variable. We are storing the value in a variable. What is the variable is rate. We are storing in a variable. And this rating will come only for the product where ID is matching. Whatever ID you entered, that ID related product related rating will come and show. I don't want to show this rating. Then why I copied this rating into variable is, I will write a condition now. If I am writing a condition. If rate is greater than, suppose 4. If rate is greater than 4, then I have to use then statement. Then what we want here, I want a message to store. We need to configure a message to store. So we will declare another variable, declare msg message. It is what type? Varchar 20. It doesn't have any default value. It's just empty. So 20, 30 something we are defining. So if rate is greater than 4, then I will put a message. So what is the message is set msg is equal to, set is a value. That means you are setting a message into that variable. And what is it? So here we will put a string. So we say like very good. So and here we will say that product so have good reviews. So or you can say product have 4+ ratings from something like that. so 4 plus ratings. That is just, I will give a message. Very good. Product have 4 plus ratings. You will display that. Next, what? So we have another else if, another condition. Remember, previously, if is not a statement there. When you learned if with select, there it is not a statement, it is a function. In that function, only two values are possible. If function have a condition, on condition true and condition false. Here you can have multi-level if. So if, what is the next one? If, if rating, if rate is greater than 3. So and that means I am using another condition, and rate is less than or equal to how much? 4. If greater than or equal to 3, greater than or equal to 3 and less than or equal to how much? 4. What is the mess? Set message is equal to average. Average. That is average here we have. That means average rate, product have average quality. Something like this I'm giving. Product have average quality. So product have, here we can say good quality. So this is average quality. So we are configuring the message in this way. Next, what? We have else. What is this else condition? So here we need to configure. Here we have to use then, right? Else. That means if it is not matching with this, that means we are writing if the condition is true, then what should happen? Else if the condition is true, then what should happen? Else, so we will put a set message is equal to some poor, I will give poor, and what it is. So we will put a message like product have a poor quality. Like this we are displaying some messages. And if needs an end if needs an end if, we need to end this with end if you need to use. This is not if function. This is what if statement. And here you cannot use the out parameter. Here you cannot use the out parameter. That means usually we have two variables, rate, and I am using rate in various places. I am having a message. I am using the message in various places. And finally, that message I need to print. Then I cannot access this message now. I cannot access this message. Then what I should do? So we have to set review is equal to what? MSG. Set review is equal to MSG. We are getting the review MSG. That means this review contains the result that you have defined. And make sure that it also handles the same size, 40, because I am giving a lengthy message. I am giving a lengthy message. So make sure that this also matches the same, because this value you are trying to store inside it. Right? Now you configured the conditions. Now when I execute the query, it executes sp get review, and let's run this call sp, what is it? Get review, and in parameter it is expecting product ID. Product ID is 2, second product I want, and out parameter at the net. What is the out parameter? Review. that out parameter you have to define. But remember, you are passing only two parameters. Internally, so many values are being handled. What it is doing, it is collecting the rating, it is storing in a rate, it is collecting the message, storing in MSG, it is verifying the condition. According to situation, it is changing the values. Finally, result is stored in review. Now what we will do? We will use select. What is it? At the net what? Review. At the net review we have to execute. Then it will get that average product have average quality. That means based on the ratings it is going to display. Suppose I am passing here as suppose 1 and run this, then it says very good, product have good quality. Because depending on its rating, I am not printing the rating, I am just printing the review. I want just its review. So which product? You enter the product ID, the product ID related review it is going to show. And for this, it is using these conditions here. So why you need variables? So that we can store the values, we can use those values across the requests and do a lot of manipulations. These kind of queries all require with variables to manage. Finally, you cannot access these variables. You can use them internally inside the query. We need to just get the result into a out parameter and you can access and use it. So this is the concept of how we can define. That means here we can use the statements and statements you can configure like this. So you can use statements like if and case. You can use case also. Case already I showed you. You can use if and case to handle decision making. To handle decision making in a stored procedure. To handle decision making in a stored procedure. To handle decision making in a stored procedure. So syntactically, if condition, then statements. Else if condition, then statements. Else statements. And if we have to write the condition in this. Case already I showed you. Huh? Case, how do we write case condition? When. We learned when keyword. When case is matching, then what we have to use. And case, we have seen the case option already. And usually, because you already learned JavaScript like languages, or if you haven't learned, you will learn about them. What is difference between case and if? You already know that it is like a case is like a switch, right? If, because some people are attending this batch without JavaScript directly. So if you haven't learned any JavaScript till now, later in JavaScript you will learn, because in programming you will learn about it. Actually, what is difference between case and if is? If what is problem is you return 10 conditions and the value is matching with the eighth. Then what will happen? It will check all the 8 from first. So to execute your eighth statement, it will execute it will check all the 7. That is lengthy. But if it is case, what will happen? It will directly execute the block that is matching your condition. It will not execute all. If there are many conditions to write, then better you use what? Case. If there are many conditions to write, better you use case. Otherwise, you just define one option. That means you just define if. So you know that, right? So what is difference is if statement checks all conditions until satisfied. So it is slow when there are many conditions to verify. It is slow when there are many conditions to verify. So case statement executes exactly the block that matches given condition. Executes exactly the block that matches given condition. So it is faster when compared to, it is faster in execution when there are many conditions. Faster in execution when there are many conditions. So, example. So this is the example I defined here. The condition how to define delimiter. Based on this example, I will give one query. You try that. I will give one query. You try and show me. First you note this. I will give you one simple query based on this. So how we can configure a procedure? So it selects a rating and stores that rating into rate. so that we can access and use in various locations to check the conditions. So we can write all the conditions here by using logical and logical OR to verify the range. Right. So this is a query how we define, and actually you can replace this if statement with case when. We can write that. You can try that. So, and to execute this, so run, call the procedure. You have to just need these two. Okay. We need to call the procedure. Now suppose I want to print the product name also. Then how do we do? I want a message saying that. So when user enters the ID and wants the review, in the result, I want the product name and its review. I want the product name and its review. You entered just ID. In the result, what it is showing, it is just showing review. For which product that review is, you know that it is ID number one. But in that ID, which product is present? I want its name. I want its name. Then what to do? Tell me. In this query, I am looking for the name of that particular product. I want the name also. Select, I should use name. I want name also na in the query. Two out parameters, or what is the second out parameter? This what is the out parameter? We need another out parameter. What is it? Some prod name. Okay. And what is it? Varchar is some 30 or 20 something. Okay. How you'll get the product name also? So rating into rating. Can I say name into prod name from TBL products? Prod name is a variable. So you see it is not a valid position. So where to, that means we need to select the name now. We need to select the name. That means suppose I said name and rating. So where to store the name? Into prod name. That's not possible. Where to get the name? In the result, I want the name also. If I say select name and rating into this from the table, so name will come. So, but in the result, will it display the name? No. How to display this name in the result? Hmm? Because in the result, I want the name and its review. Product name and its review. Here we will enter just only ID. Its review is coming fine, but its name also should come and display. So already this is written. You try that, otherwise I will show you in class. Right? You try that query. I will give one more task also. Two tasks I will give. So you try those two tasks and try submitting them. One is same. Create similar stored procedure to display product name and its review. To display product name and its review, you check all the select possibilities what you can do. So another is second one I will give here. This is for example, select product name, vendor name from TBL products. That means actually you create a table called ID, name, and so many other details will be there. Vendor name, vendor name, And here I will give here vendor name and here vendor city. And here you have the details. Suppose this is a rough table. Huh? You create a rough table like this. One TV, vendor name, some Bajaj, vendor city, Hyderabad. Two, mobile, some, it can have same. So TV, this is some Bajaj. Vendor name can be same, but a different city. Same product, but IDs are different, supplied by different city vendors. Different city vendors. And three, just some mobile or say TV, same, some Reliance, and we have Hyderabad, some Chennai, something like this we are having. That is one table. You have to create this table. This table contains ID, name, same product is supplied by different vendors in different cities, right? This is one point. Now what we need here is, so create a variable that contains your city. Create a variable that contains your city. Your city must be in a variable, default variable. It is in a default variable. So what you done, your city, how to create a variable with a default value? Declare. So your city is having varchar. So and default, and you put some value as suppose Delhi. Now what happens is, this is okay. So now what happens is, get the vendor city and compare with your city. Get the vendor city and compare with your city. What is the condition? If your city is equal to, so vendor city, that means if it is just rough condition I am giving, then we want a message as, so delivery, same day delivery. That is same day delivery. That means it says that your city is same as vendor city. That means vendor is in the same city where you are, then delivery in same. If it is not, otherwise, so message, so we say next day delivery, or we say delivery in one day. That means this message should be changing when you change your city. That means what we have to do, collect the vendor city and display. And what we want here is, so we want the message to display for every product. That means every product ID, they enter the product ID. That means they can search for any product. If the vendor city of that product is same as your city, then it should say that it is delivered in same day. If it is not, it is delivered next day. You can try this, but here creation of table is important. understanding the query is important, and it is a very common thing. You see websites, your delivery location is in the same city, then obviously they will show a message that it is delivered same day. When they say that delivery in 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, if the vendor is from different city, they have to ship from that city and they have to deliver you. This you will see regularly in shopping websites, right? So that depends. So many conditions are there. This simple one you try. That means you write one, you design one table and create a procedure. In that procedure, we can select a product and it will show a message when it will be delivered. Understood? That means you have to enter your city name also. And remember here, I hard coded the city name, but this city name also you will enter. That is your city. You will enter your city. That means what the procedure should contain? The procedure call should be like this. SP delivery. Here what we do, we enter the product ID. After that what we do? We enter the ID. We enter our city. Our city is what? My city is what? I will enter my city. And I will use an message. I will use an message. That means now this product and this is my city. I have to verify is it matching with this city or not. If it is matching, then what it should say, the message should be same day. Otherwise it should say that next. That means two parameters you will pass. One result it will show. What are the two parameters? ID and your city. Next time you enter a different city. If that city is matching with them, then it will show the same. Otherwise, another. You put a different city which is not in the list, then it will obviously give you the data, right? So you try this example. I hope you understood the query, right? Concept you understood. You need to try these two, right? So into the classroom group, I will share a lab group. I will share one lab group into the classroom group. You join into that lab group and you post your tasks there. You need to post your tasks. So this is all about understanding and working with stored procedures. So we have learnt two important objects. One is tables, another one is stored procedures. How to create tables, stored procedures. Now we need to know another concept. So we need to understand about SQL joins and we need to know about views. What are joins and views? So how to create joins, views and triggers, how to handle them. So that we'll see in next session, right? First try these queries. In the next session, we will discuss about joins, SQL joins and SQL views. Once we are good with this, three more topics are there. Joins, views, another one is triggers. Once we know this, now we will go into another database. Another database is MongoDB. We will learn another database. Now this time it will be easy and simple. Why? Because you know all database basics. You just need to try the same things without SQL queries. It looks simple, right? We will learn about them. How do we use the queries? So we will start with MongoDB after this. Once we finish MongoDB, then we will go into Node and Express, right? So we will finish mostly in 3-4 days. We will finish all this MySQL. Then we will go into MongoDB database. Another database you will learn, because in your backend you have two databases to learn. And we will design projects with both. These you will use in your React also. That means when you are learning React, when you are doing projects in React, you can use MongoDB as database or MySQL as database. For that, two types of projects you can try. So tomorrow we'll continue with this. Okay, right. Yeah.